Today we're going to build a bass rig using the Headrush Prime. This rig is also going to be compatible with the Headrush Core, pedal board, MX5 and gig board, everything except the looper board. First we've got to get our levels set, so let's go to input. I'm going to double tap on input, play a little bit. You can see that our inputs are about right. It's not going all the way to the edge here and clipping out. If you have a high output bass, you may need to turn this down just a little bit. You'll do that by tapping on input gain and just dragging left or right. We're going to leave ours set at 0. And we also want to check our output. Go here to output and double tap. You can see it's set to 0 right now. You can see that our metering is about 3/4 up. We want it to go just a little bit higher, so I'm just going to turn this up a little bit. Drag up to the right, maybe go around, 6.3, 6.5, sounds good. So now we're almost hitting the 0, which is great. Okay, at this point we now have a $1,000 direct box, and we've got a guitar cable coming on one side and XLR coming out the back, and we're good to go, right? But normally for bass you want something more than just a direct box. So let's talk about what you might want. I think a phaser would be a great place to start. So I'm going to go to this first block right here, hit plus, scroll. You see we've got a lot of choices, but I'm going to go to the phaser flanger category. I'm going to choose orange phaser, which I believe is an MXR phase 90, and choose just a default mono. I think it sounds pretty good as it is. You can also speed that up and make it more wobbly. Not quite what I'm looking for. I think actually the default setting is pretty good. By the way, I've left this set to mono. The reason is that when I get to the gig, I normally only have one channel set aside for bass. If they did in fact give me a stereo channel for bass, I would set this effect into stereo as well. Next thing that I'd want to do in my rig, I've got some modulation, also want to have a compressor, right? So I'm going to go to this next one right here, compressor. And with compressor category, we've got a lot of choices. The gray comp is based on a Ross compressor. And for electric guitar, I really like that one. It's a very colored compressor, it adds a kind of a sound. For bass, I want something a little more transparent, so I'm going to go with the Dyne 2 or Dyne 3, whatever it's called. And let's see what we got here. I'm going to double tap on it to see the settings. Now, threshold determines the point at which it begins to compress. Attack tells you how quickly it will compress once it begins, and then ratio tells you how much compression there is once it's going. So for example, if we go to a ratio of say 4:1, that's a very light compression, and an attack that's quite long. Oh, hey, I'm going to turn the phaser off here. When I play soft, when I dig in a little bit, it compresses a little bit. I can make it do that more, so I could turn up the threshold. So that's the opposite. Turning up the threshold makes it compress less, so I could turn down the threshold. Now it's compressed a lot, but I'm going to do it another way. I'm going to go to leave that where it was. So threshold is one way. Another thing that I could do is I can change the way that it attacks. So you'll notice, especially if I play with a pick, it's kind of clipping off the click sound. So if I change the attack and make that a little bit longer, we'll hear more of that pick attack. Go just a little bit more. I like that. Now, last thing I'm going to do, the ratio is currently set at around 3 or 4:1, which is a nice gentle compression. I'm going to go with more. I think we'll just go up to 10 here. It's a fairly aggressive compressor. That's with a pick, and of course with fingers. Okay. I'm satisfied with the compressor.
Chorus. Drums in.
next thing I'm going to do after adding a compressor is adding some type of distortion or drive. So let's go here. You can see that for overdrive there's a lot of choices, and for distortion there's even more choices. But today we're going to go with a B-Dist 7000, which is a Dark Glass 7000. Which it's a preamp and a distortion and an EQ all in one. Does a lot of different things, but we're going to use it today for a light drive to begin with. So let's take a look at these settings here. First of all, you've got the blends between the clean sound and the dirty sound, so you can have a mix of both. So right now, blend at 0, it's all clean. And if you turn it all the other way, so turn it. It's all distortion. So it's quite a versatile control there. Then you've got drive up here and distortion. As you make all these changes, you end up changing the master volume as well, so you're always having to reset that. Set the blend all the way up, drive and distortion all the way up as well. And there's a lot of settings for tone controls and things. I've got bass boosted a little bit. I've got the low mids boosted a little bit at 700. High mids are left alone. And I got the treble cut a little bit. So let's see what we got. Now that's being driven a bit by the compressor, so I'll turn the compressor off for now. Okay, so there we have some distortion. The next thing I might want to do is add another level of distortion, right? So I'm going to turn that one off for now just by tapping it. I'm going to hit plus. I'm going to use the same distortion and just go with some different settings, right? So you can see I've got a very different drive now. So this first one, the first one here. Oh, that's with both actually. We'll just do one at a time, right? So this is the first one. And then we've got the second one. Now, interesting thing. This one doesn't really even sound like there's anything going on, but it does add just a nice grit to it. So I'm going to turn on the compressor a little bit, leave this grit on. And in fact, that's one that I might leave on all the time. Just a good bass overdrive. It works with fingers. Works with a pick. So that's worth knowing about, right? All right, at this point, I would kind of be done if I was just using a real life amp. I'd have this going into a real life amp or just straight into the PA, and I like that direct sound. That might be enough. However, there's always more that you can do. With the Headrush, you also have amplifier modeling in here. So I'm going to go with a classic amp, and I'm going to go with, under the amp list here, we've got a lot of different choices, but I'm going to go with the most recorded bass amp in history, which is an Ampeg B15, which is called flip bass. And I'm going to leave the knobs all straight up and down. It's only got 3 knobs, volume, treble, bass, all straight up and down. You can hear that sounds pretty scratchy. The reason is that we need to add a cabinet. Now, B15 normally would come with a 15-inch cabinet, but I'm not that much of a traditionalist, so I'm going to add something that's got 10-inch drivers. In fact, my favorite bass cabinet, of course, is an Ampeg 8x10, those big refrigerators that we dragged around back in the old days. So let's add one of those. In this case, I'm going to go over here, I'm going to add an impulse response. So IR, I'm just going to hit default for now. I'm going to tap on the impulse response. I'm going to do a few settings here. So the first one is, I already know that that's added a lot of gain. So I'm going to turn it down, just go down to like -16. I know this because I've built lots of rigs. You got to be careful with these. I'm going to go over here and choose the IR file. And I'm scrolling through and I'm looking, there's a 4x10 birch here, so that's one option. And then there's an 8x10 blackline. So this one, that's my favorite cabinet, right? So I select that one. And now we've got different microphones to choose from. We've got a 121, a Royer 121 on there now. Okay, that's a pretty great sound, but it's not quite what I'm going for. A couple things I'm going to change. One is I'm going to change to a different mic. So if I scroll down, a 121 sounds good, but in this case I might try a Neumann U87. I think there's one in here. Here we go. Balance. There we go. Load. That's pretty good. I like that. Very full, very rich. One of the great things about using an IR is it gives you a high cut. Now this space has EMG pickups and it can be a little bit scratchy. So I'm going to go to the high cut right here and I'm going to set that to 4000 Hertz. And you'll notice it's taken a lot of the scratchy off. You could actually go as low if you're using an active bass like I am. You could even go lower than that. You could go down to like 2500. But I'm going to leave a little bit of the clickiness in there, something to give the sound guy some excitement. Maybe he won't like it, maybe he will. Depends on the sound guy. All right, now let's see where we are. Add the compressor. The tonality is the same, but the dynamics are more even. Now I'm going to add the light drive. That's pretty good for me. If I hit it hard, you can hear that it's distorted. And then if I turn that off, I can turn on this other distortion. And I think we're pretty much done. We've got all the options that I'm likely to need. The last thing I'm going to do, for those of you who have a MX5 or in this case a Prime that uses a expression pedal, I'm going to just add a volume control and somewhere volume and dynamics, hit volume, hit default linear. I'd normally leave mine set at around 70%, and then during the set, if I feel like I'm getting lost in the band, I can turn it up a little bit. Or if I've got a quiet moment in a song, I can turn it down a little bit. That's just how I do it anyway. So there we have it. We have a bass rig built here in just a few minutes. So for the curious amongst you, you want to know what this ugly bass is? This is an Ibanez X-Star from about 1986. This one has EMG pickups in it. A couple things I like about it. One is that it's about 25% lighter than a P bass. Another is that with the tuning down here, it's inherently a lot more stable than just a regular bass. So this can actually stay in tune for months, literally. I can not touch it for a couple of months, pull it out of the case and play it and it'll still be in tune. Also, it's symmetrical on the bottom here, which means it will stand up and lean up against the wall without a guitar stand, which I kind of like that as well. But you know, most importantly to me, it plays really well. It's got a very nice neck shape and it's got a very straight neck, so I can get a low action. I like to have my action set so that I can dig in and get buzz if I want it. So if I play light, I get a clean sound, but if I want to dig in, I get the rattle. So I have my action set fairly low so that I have those choices. So that's it from me today. Let me know what else you want to see. Bass players, guitar players, tell me what you want to know about the Headrush, what I can do a video on. I would love to support you any way that I can. Until next time, have a good one.